I have been working on various finance issues for a long time now. We've started working on issues of debt, taxes, also financial flows, international financial institutions in the Philippines for more than 2 decades. And for us, of course, we want to make sure that we are able to advance our cause on all of these different issues. But it's also very clear to us that they're all related, that they're all part of our struggle for transforming our society so that we can set up a social system, a social order that will allow our people to have a quality of life that is not overabundant, but mindful of the limits of the Earth's resources, but a quality of life that makes for what we call decent and dignified lives. No? So we have been working hard on these issues, and we have been connecting with global initiatives on these issues for a long time. One of the things we noticed, of course, is that for some movements, there's kind of a disconnect. When you're working on debt, it's almost solely focusing on debt or on tax and so on. So I think the conference has been very important in pointing out the links, in encouraging people to look at the things more in terms of a system and to have an approach to solutions that is also taking note of the fact of the need for system-wide changes. That's why it's been very encouraging for me to be here. Of course, for movements on the debt, a very immediate thing are changes that have to do with reducing the debt so that our people don't pay the debt anymore. But that's not enough. No, the reduction of the debt through debt cancellation or through debt repudiation should be used as an opportunity to change the economic policies and the economic structures in our country and in the international financial system so that the debt is not repeated, so that there's no reaccumulation of debt, which is something we are seeing now in the countries that were the beneficiaries of the debt cancellation in the 1990s. A large part of the debt were canceled, but they are now reaccumulating the debt. Of course, one important response in terms of a policy measure is improving our ways of raising resources domestically. So obviously, one answer to that is tax policies. How do we improve our tax policies? How do we make sure taxes are paid by the rich and the corporations? Because often in our countries, they're allowed not to pay taxes or to pay very little tax, which is the complete opposite of what needs to happen. Well, for one thing, they really need to strengthen measures and laws, regulations inside Europe so that the multinational corporations whose headquarters, or they're headquartered in Europe. You can't even say European corporations anymore because the ownership of these corporations are really multinational, not just Europeans. But those who are registered in Europe, the European governments and the EU has a responsibility to make sure that their laws and their regulations in Europe compel these corporations to pay taxes fairly to the countries where they make their riches, which is mostly in the south. So that's a very important thing. There's a number of policy measures that are being proposed to make that happen. So we encourage people in Europe to look at those proposals and support these proposals. One of the recent trends that we're very much alarmed about is the fact that public finance is being used to enable private finance to have an even bigger role in our economies. We're already struggling hard with the domination of private finance, private corporations, big multinational corporations, but including investments being done through the financial markets in our economies. And for this to be enabled by public finance is like adding so much already to a very big burden. When they say it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's already a huge burden, and now they're even wanting to facilitate this process even more. And so we need to look at this. We need to look at how public finance is facilitating this, but also at the same time to look at this issue as a broader issue of what is the role of private sector in development, especially development in the South. There's a lot of assertion that the private sector is the engine of growth. The private sector is the answer to improving essential services, and we beg to disagree very strongly because the opposite has happened in our countries. And so we would like for all of us to cooperate to start questioning this even strongly and coming up with alternative policies. Places like the Philippines, this is really very real. No, we are called one of the emerging economies, and our economy has really been subjected to the invasion of the financial markets and to the whole complex array of financial instruments that are being used not only to invest in areas that used to be areas of public finance, but also in all other areas of the economy. And now, slowly, even the low-income countries are going to be subject to this because there's a huge public finance that's being used to prepare these countries for their financial markets, to set up their financial markets. So this is also something very alarming. There's this whole process taking place globally called financialization, where the financial markets are taking over so many aspects of our lives, and we don't even know it, and we don't have the usual instruments of public accountability and control is no longer applicable. It's not enough. So that we need to, even if it sounds so complicated, we need to get a handle on the financial markets, how to control, how to regulate, how to reduce ultimately the role that they play in the economy, which has been largely harmful.